Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Margaret. So good to
Hey.
actually see
I
you.
know. Likewise. I was gonna change my background, but then I'm like, I'll leave the joy
No,
bowl of
feature the
cereal.
boxes. I
Yeah.
love it. Show
Thank
them
you.
off. I love it. Oh, I feel like there's some flavors there that I haven't even tried yet.
These two you likely did not try.
Versus dangerous. Okay, tell me
Hmm.
about those two. We're going a
So
little rogue
this
here.
is, and this is in chronological order of when they launched, but this is unsweetened honey, cinnamon, cocoa, fruity frosted pumpkin, which was an LTO last year, and then chocolate covered strawberry that was a Valentine's Day Whole Foods SKU.
Oh my gosh.
The wall's gonna just keep going. I'm gonna need more wall here or more Zoom or whichever. But
No, I
yeah,
love it. All
thank
all of
you.
the above.
Thank you so
Oh, it's
much.
amazing. Maddie, Brianna, am I good to get started here with Margaret?
You're all set. Yes.
Cool. All right. Perfect. Well, Margaret, it is, a pleasure. I have been a fangirl of the product for a long time, being very health conscious myself, looking for products that are kind of better for you, but have that nostalgia is something that's rare and pretty special. So I've been looking forward to this for a little while.
Appreciate it.
I'd love to just kind of dive in, and I
Cool.
think it makes sense to start from the beginning. So, tell me a little bit about the story and the why behind Three Wishes.
Sure. So the Three Wishes name is a double entendre. It was the three Wishingrads, which now there are four of us, but when we created the product, it was three, and the three claims that we brought to the category, which are our high protein, low sugar, gluten, and grain free claims. But the Three Wishes story really stems to I'm a first time mom and I'm looking to feed my kid finger foods. The recommendation for little pinch of skills was cereal and cereal O's. And it was one of those, wow, I haven't had cereal in the longest time. Is there anything out there in the market for myself, for my kid? And I perused the aisles of Whole Foods and all these other health stores of the world to realize there's a lot of marketing on shelves and not necessarily a ton of actual innovation. And I thought it was a great opportunity to create a product that I could eat myself, feed my kid, share with friends, family, you name it. And I kind of validated that same thesis that I had with a ton of other people. And everyone said, yeah, we miss cereal. We haven't had it in the longest time. And so that was kind of that little light bulb moment. And I'm grateful for my kid for helping me realize that. But yeah, cereal is one of those heartwarming Sunday things you enjoy. So to be able to bring that to consumers to eat Monday through Friday also is a really fun feeling.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, well, I got problems if it's only a Sunday thing.
It is not. It's a Sunday to Sunday.
It's like an everyday thing. So what did you do before this, before you kind of had that aha moment of I need to change the world one cereal box at a time?
So my husband and I have an ad agency here in New York, the other Wishingrad. We have an ad agency called Big Eyed Wish. And it's really cool because we got to work on brands like Nestle, Diageo, AT&T. And then we got to work on really fun small brands. And the feeling of creating and building a brand and watching it go to market and really just grow within its market and category is one of the most fulfilling things. So I think we naturally always wanted to create our own product. We didn't really have a problem to solve until Ellis brought that problem to the forefront. And it's been so awesome and such an amazing competency to have and ability to be able to market a product. It's definitely fascinating going from service to operation and actual tangible goods, but it's really, really helpful to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit more about Big I Wish. It's rare to have that in-house. So I'd love a little bit of some context on what that business does today as well.
Yeah. So today, so Ian operates Big I'd Wish with a small team, and I'm mostly Three Wishes. And Big I'd Wish still works on big beauty brands that are probably in your house. Um, there's a ton of fun consumer stuff, but I think the beauty there is we're always learning from our clients. And I think now we get to teach as well, which is really fun by having some of the experience of doing both. So I think it works both ways, but it's really working with big companies is fascinating because you have really deep pockets. They're able to execute and do things on a big scale, but to be able to transfer that real startup mentality, it was the coolest to work with smaller brands that are like, hey, I have a small budget. Can you execute these big grand dreams and help us grow with this amount of money? And so that I think taught us how to be really smart, nimble, frugal, and how to make a lot of noise with not a lot of money. And it's something we've done with the brand multiple times. And yeah, it's really fun to get to create and make people feel something on the outside. And then our biggest baby is the inside, which took 2 years of product development and is truly really difficult. And it makes sense as to why other brands have either not created this type of product or why it took so long to have this innovation really come to market. But the juice is truly inside the box. And because our product is it's 0 to 100 is the way we look at it. It's for children, it's for adults, it's for grandparents. That first group, the kids, marketing doesn't matter to those humans. So the biggest win there was our product. And then the marketing definitely works with the moms and the grandmoms and all those other people. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a big audience. Walk me through a little bit about, how you went about communicating with your target customers.
Yeah. So I think for us, it was, would we love to boil the ocean? Sure. I think you really have to dial in and figure out who that consumer is. And for us, it was the millennial family, the millennial mom, the gatekeeper to the home. And so she's making better decisions for herself and her children. And so it's really interesting. And this is where it gets into like the forensics of how we communicated on our box.
Yeah.
But the cereal. So for us, it was how do we communicate that we're fresh, we're new, we're innovative, we're healthy without necessarily being bland packaging or like screaming health. We wanted to kind of weave all of those things. And it was actually a really difficult thing. It took us as long to nail packaging as it did to nail product. But for us, when we thought about just the hierarchy of communication, we wanted to say, if you had to play a game of telephone and call your significant other and say, hey, can you pick up that cereal for me? What was it? How do you describe it? Because it's difficult to say, oh, the red box, the pink box. For us, it was let's make sure Three Wishes is the biggest communication point. There's something inspiring about the name. There's something whimsical about it. The energy lines around it brought this energy to it. So that for us was a really interesting, like, let's actually create a brand that's memorable and that allows us to build a platform brand on it as well. And so we continue to innovate products. You'll always know, oh, it's that Three Wishes versus chickpea O's or anything product specific. Then I think for us, it was important to place the two significant macros, which are the ones that we really reversed, which was the more protein and less sugar. So we kind of wanted to nail that twice. So whether for you the claim of more protein was significant or knowing that it was 3 grams of sugar, that was a little bit on that. Then we really locked up the grain-free, and it's different on all the packaging and color, but for us, it was important to have that really tell the consumer what's the key difference, because that entire aisle is cereal, right? And every cereal has a different macro assigned to it in terms of the nutritional panel, but what is the key difference? And we are grain-free. There are very few grain-free cereals, if any, on store shelves. So for us, that was our identifier. We are a grain-free cereal. And then the rest is flavor cues. But what was really intentional was the fact that we didn't place the cereal O's in a spoon or in a bowl. We didn't want to communicate to the consumer on what the occasion should be. We wanted you to have the permission to eat it as a snack, to use it as a smoothie topper, to eat it like a bowl of cereal. And so we kind of just let it float and become this like whimsical floating, you eat it how you want to eat it. And then we gave it these like lava lamp blobs to create just some texture and depth. And then the colors, cute to some of the classic cereals, right? We know that your typical Fruit Loops will be in this like red scheme. Your Frosted Flakes will be in the blue. A cocoa cereal is going to be brown. And honey is yellow. So we really tried to play on the familiar things because we knew we were changing so much about the cereal. Something else that's really fun and unique, our ingredient panel is so short that we went and we have a SKU that's 4 ingredients. So to be able to list it out in big font straight down really, I think, communicates to the consumer that, hey, we're super transparent with what we put in our product. And here it is. So these were all things we really did by design of just how do we make someone feel something? How do we make them stop at that shelf and realize that we're different than the rest of the set to want to consume our product and get really excited about a brand. And then the rest is part of the experience. As you consume it, you're like, wow, this is actually delicious and as fun as and exciting as the packaging is. So that's a little bit of the little marketing sprinkle that we did when we designed it, but it was truly one of the most difficult things because we're so close to it, of how do we weave in all of this messaging and education and not making this box feel crazy at the same time. So it was a really interesting fine line.
I also love the back of the box. At least on the flavors that I buy, it kind of has that nostalgia of playing the cereal game or, writing your 3 wishes on the back of the box. Such fun. Yep, there you go.
And
it's
there. We have little Easter eggs in some of the boxes, so that's the one thing to check out as well. And we changed the story on some of the flavors. But yeah, we just, our brand is us as human, like who we are as humans. We want to translate it, and Ian, Ellis, myself, were really like bubbly, loud personalities, and so we hope that comes across in the brand. But something else that's like no one notices this logo, but it does have a significance because it's the W, it's the 3 people, and then it's also the number 3.
Oh, that's so cool. No,
so
I've
like
never noticed
we've just
that.
played with so many things on this box that are just so close to home. But yeah, it's really, retail is a very fascinating thing to get into because cereal especially is arguably one of the longest aisles with the most colors, characters. That was another thing we didn't do, no character, because we didn't want to skew juvenile, but it was most characters, most colors, most flavors. And to stand out in that aisle is a really difficult thing. So for us, we spent a lot of time going into these stores, making sure the packaging worked there and really doing the homework on how do I stand out for the 10 seconds a consumer spends walking down this aisle? How do I catch that eye? So that was the difficult thing as well.
Yeah, no, that leads me to kind of my next question. During the pandemic, especially, so many brands moved away from retail and you decided to really lean in. So how did you make that decision? Walk us through that process.
Yeah, I think so much of consumer behavior. I think people get so excited about D2C and the internet. Grocery stores or brick and mortar is still very much alive, has always been really alive, especially for grocery. And I think we see the big brands that start, like the Harry's, Casper, they all end up in store. We also knew the most difficult of all the feats was brick and mortar. That shelf space that you fight to get, they don't add extra square footage in a grocery store because there are new items coming out. You have to convince these store buyers that your product is going to create more revenue per square foot for their store and going to resonate with their consumers. And so for us, we're lucky. Well, this was also something we did, but it was, we created a product and we actually innovated in an aisle that needed it. So there was an actual true need for our product in that space, in that set. So that's one part of it, but it is a hard thing to be able to go to a retailer and say, hey, that shelf space you have for a SKU that's already making you revenue, you should replace us with that, replace that SKU with our product. And that's a difficult ask. So you really need to have that faith of the buyer. And the other side is the exposure you have in a grocery store really makes something feel really real and tangible. So overall, it's really hard to get into retail. It's really hard to maintain and grow in retail. And I think that's where marketing plays a part. But the pandemic was a really interesting one because I think where people started to think, oh, no one's going to do discovery in stores anymore. Everyone's going to sit at home, which is true for those couple weeks that things were really locked down.
Yeah.
That was also the perfect opportunity for us to be a very supportive vendor when other brands are not on shelf or not restocking or having shortages on supply. It was a great time for us to double down and say, hey, Three Wishes is here for you. We're a brand that can support you. We're on top of our supply. And we really were able to conquer some of the shelf and have additional facings, which in retail is gold and everything. So that was one part of it. But as we're seeing, as COVID, the waves were, you're leaving your house, you're not leaving your house. The same thing happens in retail. And so we wanted to be there for that roller coaster. Now that everything's back, we have those extra facings, which is a really nice, it's a nice to have for sure. So doubling down on retail has really proven well for the brand. And I think cereal additionally is one of those items that you don't really want to wait to get in the mail. It's something that you want to go experience, pick up, and it feels like it makes a lot of sense. I think when you think about some of the retail or things that really did well D2C versus retail, it was a price arbitrage. And it wasn't like we were coming out with a cheaper cereal. We were coming out with a new and innovative cereal. So it made a lot of sense to be on store shelves too.
Yep. So how negatively or positively were you impacted by the pandemic? And now that that's kind of shifting, how are you making any changes in your business?
Yeah, breakfast was a category that ended up doing really, I always feel terrible saying anyone did well in a pandemic, but you now had more than ever, more kids at home, more parents at home, and no one's really rushing to get out of any doors, and people still have to eat. And so I think the first couple of weeks of the pandemic, everyone was resorting back to their pizzas and their comfort foods because it was a really weird, troubling time. And then people realized life is going to be like this for a long time. So get back to your healthier habits. And I think that's when they started to look for, how do I now consume something that's healthy and I can enjoy and I could do quickly and feed kids, it's inexpensive. And I think all of those different things really help lift cold cereal. So it's a really great time to be our product and to be available in retail and to be available online. And the other thing we did during the peak of the pandemic was we relaunched our website to be a really seamless shopping experience within 4 weeks. So we really wanted to make sure we were there, whether you're brave to go to the store or whether you're online and you're shopping there, we were where the consumer is. And that also proved to be really well, help us really well. So I think overall, we made it out on the other side well. And I think now it's just more about how do we continue getting deeper and becoming a household brand and having, if you're not familiar with us, how do we target that consumer? How do we resonate with that consumer? And how do we get them to become brand evangelists?
Yeah, that's an interesting, I would love to hear how you're approaching that subject of becoming a household brand. What's the strategy behind that?
So when we set out to create Three Wishes and we had to create the strategy of how do we go to market, how do we resonate with the consumers that we think are our consumers, we knew that the healthy consumer was bar none the best one for us to go after. They're more inclined to buy a slightly more premium priced product, and they're probably looking for a product like ours, right? So we decided our strategy out of the gate when we thought retail specifically was, let's do natural and go really deep in natural. And it was get to Whole Foods, Sprouts, Wegmans, the Fresh Market, Fresh Time. You could think of any store with fresh, natural green in it. I'm sure we are sold there. We're probably there. And yeah, I mean, that for us was like, hey, we know our consumers are here. Show them that you have fun, exclusive flavors, show them a variety of products, and really make sure you communicate to them first and foremost. I think the rest starts to trickle down. And once you find those people that are influential in their little communities, and that doesn't mean an influencer, that can mean a mom that has
Yeah.
5 friends that she loves to share what she buys for her kids. And that's, 5 people that know 5 people that know 5 people. And so that consumer for us, we knew started at natural. So we've really, really focused on that as a channel. And as it starts to get wider, then it's just more distribution and knowing, hey, we're now in this geographic region. How do we reach out to these people? Is it finding influencers in these regions that talk to these specific groups that we think are going to over-index as Three Wishes consumers? Are we doing email targeting? Are we doing social? Are we doing TV? I mean, there's a plethora of things you could do, but for us, it's let's make sure we have visibility in these stores. So that means end cap programs, promotions, the classic what works in retail playbook. But that for us, it was nail natural first and foremost, and the rest will follow.
Yep, makes sense. You also took an approach that was outside of the standard classic playbook. Talk to me about some of the guerrilla marketing campaigns that you ran. I read about, drive-through sampling during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, tell me a little bit about some of those.
Yeah, those are actually really fun. If you guys have the footage up and you can play them, they're super self-explanatory. But I think the beauty of having this marketing capability is we'll sit around once a week going, okay, we have this new flavor to launch, or okay, we have this problem, or this is in the news. Oh, here it is.
So I'm making a sign.
A huge part of our business was doing in-store sampling, and I don't think that's coming back anytime soon.
The founders of a startup cereal company converting their driveway into a drive-through.
Ian and Margaret Wishingrad.
Ian and Margaret Wishingrad,
the co-founders of Three Wishes cereal.
A high-protein, low-sugar, grain-free cereal brand.
Made of pea proteins and tapioca.
You hear those ingredients, you don't necessarily think it's going to be a delicious breakfast cereal. But we worked on this for 2 years, so people taste it and they're like, how does it taste so good?
Ian, I know you gave me some, so I sampled it. It's very tasty.
You were off and running, it was doing great, and then coronavirus came.
Ian turned to me and he was like, well, we have a U-shaped driveway. Let's just host it in our driveway and serve our local community.
Thank you so much. Great.
Thank you. And if this is the new normal, we'll figure it out and we'll be okay with it.
Yeah, so this one was really fun and interesting. So here we are, weeks into coronavirus. We're a brand that just launched in retail. We can't do demos anymore. How do we get consumers to give this new brand a shot? And we're like, okay, the least we could do is start in the immediate circle, which is literally our local community. And so Ian came up with this idea of, hey, what if we do a drive-through taste test? And I'm like, okay, no one's going to show up, but fine, we'll do it. And so paint the sign, stand in the middle of this driveway. And I think there was so much exhaustion around seeing this horrible news cycle, which is like another day, more hospitalizations, deaths. It was devastating. And I think it was a really perfect opportunity for small brands to tell a story of, hey, how do you survive this really weird time for businesses? But yeah, so we did this drive-through. We had this really fun turnout of local cars that were just like, I need to get out of my house, do circles around, and happen to drive in. We served them some cereal. Some of them became Three Wishes consumers, which is lovely. But what we did is we just created that content. We took it to our local paper here in town, and it just started to circle. And the next thing you know, it's on Fox National News. And you learn that people all over the country eat cereal too. But it was our biggest sales day in company history. And within seconds, probably to this day, within seconds, you just see these orders online rolling through. And I think it was because we decided to talk about something that was really topical in the news, which was drive-through testing or coronavirus or just being a small business. And we created something that was worth talking about. And so that cost us literally the cost of paint and paper, and it was it. And it just took off. And I think that inspired us to continue doing these really fun things around the brand that, one, give us an opportunity to share our story, to which is so much of it, because people want to buy from people. They don't want to buy just things. And so having the ability to say, hey, we're a family, we created this product, we worked really hard to demo, and now we can't demo, and this is what we did to be really creative about it. I think demonstrated a lot. And it was a really fun little thing that kicked it off.
Yeah, a little thing that became a very big impact.
Yeah, totally.
In a challenging time where, a little positivity, I think, went a long way. That's
100%.
incredible. Did I also see that there was a Willy Wonka cast?
So this is another fun one, right? So here we are, we're launching another flavor, and it was our fourth one, cocoa. And we'll play it.
Here we are.
No, go for it.
Hey, Daddy, I want a golden goose.
Here we go again.
All right, where is it? I want a chocolatey breakfast cereal now.
I want it now.
About time too. 3 wishes. Chocolatey breakfast cereal. It's scrumdiddlyumptious.
Now, the name soon to be heard around the universe is Mr. Mike TV.
I wish all I had to do from now on is sit here and eat this chocolatey cereal, and trust me, I know chocolate.
I'd like a bar of chocolate, please.
I hope there's another golden ticket in here. More protein, less sugar, gluten-free, and a great chocolate taste. I'm thinking this could be your golden ticket to a healthy breakfast. I wish I had thought of this.
So those are all the original child stars that were in that OG Willy Wonka. And this is a really fun other challenge, right? So we're sitting here, we're like, okay, we got to launch this cocoa flavor. Yeah. How do we tell people it's actually a delicious cocoa taste and they're going to love it? And we're all like laughing. We're like, what if we got the original cast of like Willy Wonka to go and endorse this product? And it turns out it turns out the entire cast wants nothing to do with being child stars, and they were so difficult to track down. And so Charlie is now a veterinarian in upstate New York, super remote. And Veruca's a grandmother whose name is Julie. She is in England, sweetest grandmother. I love her so much. And then Mike TV sells real estate in LA, and his name's Paris. And we just put this on we're going to do this and accomplish it. Yeah. We tracked them down. We called their workplace. We found ways to get to them. And we're like, look, we created this new breakfast cereal. We think it's delicious. Can you give this a chance? If you try it and you think that this product actually is delicious, will you record a video for us endorsing the product? And then we didn't even know that Veruca, or Julie, was going to do this in her like original Veruca dress, or it was just so fun. And I think they were so excited to help this small growing brand that was just doing something really fun and interesting during another crappy wave of a pandemic. And it's so awesome to just have like the camaraderie of the world. And it was the most heartwarming thing. But for us, it was like, how do we get this really fun, during another bad news cycle, how do we get this really fun feeling around a new launch of a product, around a flavor? How do we hit nostalgia? And that's what that did. And then that went out and went through some fun different TV circuits also, and played in some places and got some brand pickup, and really helped launch Cocoa. And I think the brand left such a fun mark on their hearts that Charlie, or Peter, later on went to Wegmans, an account of ours, and took a picture next to the cereal. We sent that to the buyer. They were so excited. And it just, I think as many people as we can bring into the brand and just hug with our cereal selves, it leaves a mark and really makes an impact. And I think bringing that personality to the aisle is really what has made us stand out against the rest of the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it leaves a smile, right? Like it makes you kind of smirk. You're like, that's so cute.
I know.
And that's all I can ask.
Oh my gosh, I could have never thought of that idea, but it's the most brilliant idea that anyone could think of. Of course, you're going to have them taste test it. Totally. Of course, you're going to have them promote it. I mean, they're the chocolatiers, right?
That's it.
I love it.
We also tried to get Augustus Gloop, who is an accountant in Germany. He wasn't into chocolate cereal.
No,
he's pretty scarred from being Augustus Gloop, I think. So that we missed that one.
Oh Oh my gosh. You know, I gotta give it to you. It was a bold move to launch a new flavor, new product in the midst of a pandemic. I mean, walk me through that process and kind of decision, because it was bold.
Yeah, I mean, most of our flavors launched in the pandemic. It's just, we just decided to bring who we are to our consumers, to our buyers, and we're just really lucky that we have a great product that resonates with people. And I don't know if this is by accident, by design, but it's a brand that people seem to love and have a lot of heart for. And that's all we can ask for, is that we just continue. We have a promise that we'll continue delivering great product that aligns with all of our brand values. And we hope it just continues to resonate with people the way it has.
Amazing. Well, if you don't mind, I'd love to shift gears from the brand to talking about you.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, let's do it. You know, you're a powerhouse, co-founder, CEO, you're a strong female. Any pros, any cons? I mean, what challenges do you face in that role?
So many pros, so many cons. Most days it feels like most pros, because I think any entrepreneur, if you focus on like, everyone always asks like, oh, have you had any failures? If I even took an iota of brain space to just store failures, I don't even know what would have happened. So I think it's like you learn to just let it roll and keep it rolling. But I think becoming a parent was one of the most eye-opening experiences, and learning how to differentiate between something that's a real problem and something that's just like minutia. That taking that same principle to a business is really helpful. I think that skill of multitasking, of prioritizing, that's been really, really helpful. But yeah, I mean, there's a million things. It's so hard to be a parent at home running a business with 2 kids. There's so much mom guilt. There's so much things to deal with as a female founder. I mean, I was reading these crazy statistics about how small the percentage of businesses that are female founded get like what the investment side looks like. And especially if you're a minority female owned business, it's just really, really heartbreaking. But I think it takes that same perseverance that when someone decides to become an entrepreneur, it's that same like, all right, I could do it. I got this. For me, I knew it was, I'm here. The immigrant is here to change breakfast cereal, which is ironic, but we'll take it. An American breakfast. But yeah, I mean, I grew up, my parents, when they came here, I grew up eating junk food, didn't know any different, had McDonald's. I became really healthy when I was in college and realized you can't eat like this. And then as I continued to evolve as an adult, still a super healthy consumer. But for me, my mission was, hey, I'm here to create and transform what the breakfast table looks like in the United States. And there's truly nothing that can stop me from getting there. And I think sticking to that same mentality and taking all of those no's, the amount of times I've gotten no's from co-packers that I would call, and they're like, yeah, Toots, that's a great idea. Sounds like a cute hobby. And I'm like, no, I'm really going to create the cereal. And I did it, and I didn't have to work with those people. Or the co-packers I would call, and they're like, okay, great. We spoke to you about the product, but can you put your husband on the phone to talk finances? And I'm like, really? That's interesting.
Wow.
Never worked with them, so that was fine. But I think look, I surround myself with the most incredible vendors on ingredients, on co-packing. And I think the most important thing to remember is we're all just humans, and what we do at work is work, but to just be there as people. And I know everyone's birthdays, their kids' birthdays, their favorite flavor of ice cream. And that I think is what changes relationships and is most important. So I utilize that, and I'm just friends with everyone that I can make friends with. And then the rest is just a good time. We happen to make cereal outside of being friends. So yeah, I mean, the pros are, it's really hard to create a food product, and you find a way to do it because you are an entrepreneur. So that's it. That's really, I think, the long and short of it.
Yeah, you said something that I think became very relevant over the past couple years, especially for women and with children working from home and trying to, hold these positions, this founder position, entrepreneurial CEO. How do you find that balance between, your role at work and then flipping the switch and being mom?
There's no switch.
No switch.
They all bleed into each other. I mean, my kid had a book exchange thing on Friday, and the teacher's like, "You're the only parent that didn't bring in a book," and I'm like, and it happens, and it happens to everyone, and it's not just the entrepreneurial moms that it happens to, and it's okay, and everyone makes a mistake, and it's that same way that I throw the other mistakes on the work side, you have to throw the ones on the mom side too. And it's really hard, and there's a lot of guilt, and sometimes my kid will walk over and say, "Mom, can you put your phone down? Can you stop working so you can play with me?" And it's hard. It is really, really hard. But the upside of being an entrepreneur is you're also flexible. You could say, "You know what? I'm going to work today from noon to 10 o'clock at night," and you're spending 9 to noon with your kids. So you find a way to make it work. It truly does take a village. It is really helpful to have my husband as a co-founder. And we juggle these children all the time. He's doing a call while driving to pick one up, and I'm on a Zoom, and you do it. I mean, one of my favorite stories was, this is when kids were still at home before they went back to school. We had a buyer meeting with a retailer, and it's on Zoom, and we're doing the meeting, and all of a sudden I hear my kid in the other room yelling, "Mom, I have to poop." And I'm like, "Oh my God, not on this call. Please, this is my first call with this buyer. I really want to get into this account." So I'm like, "Give me a second." And like, I run, I like wipe his tush, come back. And all of a sudden, 20 seconds later, he's running butt naked behind me on the Zoom. And I'm like, "I am so sorry. I'm so sorry." And she's like, "It's okay. Don't worry about it." And we ended up getting into that store. So I don't know if it's his tush that got us there, but overall, it just, we're all humans, right? Yeah. Everyone gets it. There are people that have families that have pets. It is what it is. I think we all learn to work a little bit differently through a pandemic, but yeah, there is no off. And then people apparently have to poop during buyer meetings. So there's that.
No, it's, just from the conversation we had before this and today, you have just such a humanizing approach to your business. And it's really inspiring to see. I can see why people want to work with you, and why Willy Wonka cast wants to collaborate with you.
Oh, that means a lot.
Pretty incredible. Like your energy is very contagious.
Thank you.
I want to be mindful of time, but I think one thing that I would love to ask is if you have, a single piece of advice for women out there trying to drive a business, start a business, what would that be? I know that's one thing is a little tricky. So if you have multiple, I think people would be all ears.
Yeah. I think it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to have the answers to everything. It is almost as important to know your weaknesses as it is to know your strengths. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn, to delegate, because your business is your baby. And sometimes you need to delegate to someone that is an expert and could teach you how to do something. Whether it's you're delegating your business or your children or any of these other things, it is a very important thing. And I know women love to do everything. And I am a micromanager, so it's really difficult for me to let go and do that sometimes. So I would say that is a big piece. Learn to delegate, learn to trust. And then it just really never take a no. I was told I couldn't make my product. I was told that it could never get as soft as we got it. It could never have the flavor we have. It could never have the price point. Keep pushing. You could do it.
Margaret, what a pleasure.
Thank you. It was awesome.